So it's a nice morning here in Burbank, California, and I was on Facebook Marketplace and looking around yesterday morning and found this 1965 Plymouth Valiant. So wouldn't you know it, I went ahead and bought it. It's a car that the motor was supposedly rebuilt back in 2000. The guy used to use it as a daily driver, and he'd owned it since the late 90s, I guess. And he actually bought it from the original owner's family who lived right next door. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get this thing so it can be towed out of here. I think it would run. The guy says it was running 2 years ago. I looked inside the radiator. It was a little bit on the scaly side. The brakes are still up on it, but being a 65, it still has the single pot master cylinder, so I'd rather check out all the brake stuff before I attempt any real driving in this thing. And of course, one of the tires is flat, so I'm going to have to go ahead and jack this thing up, change the tire, or get a tire on it that holds air so I can have this thing flatbed over to my house, because of course my car trailer is nowhere near LA right now. It's actually up in Central Valley, so I'm gonna have to do this the hard way. So we'll see how this goes. All right, so I'm gonna do a quick walk around on the car. It still has the original black license plates issued by California. It's original paint, very, very faded, lots of surface rust. Only really bad rust, it's not even a bad rust spot, is right here on the below the windshield. Got a little pinhole going there. Overall, not that bad. I mean, about what you'd expect from a California car. Door panel's actually in really good condition. This is like a really, really bare bones model. In fact, it's got a radio delete, so this thing's never even had a radio in it. The plastic defroster vents are shot. They might be available because a lot of stuff is manufactured for these, since a lot of stuff is interchangeable with, like, of course, your Plymouth Barracudas, which is essentially the same body. It's a 3-speed on the tree with a 170 Slant 6. And of course, the headliner is completely gone, but seat's not in that bad a shape. It's a totally usable car. Like visually, it's kind of got a cool patina to it. A little bit of dirt here. Looks like it was spray painted or something. Come around the back. I mean, it's, you know, scratched up, normal wear you'd expect for a 55-year-old car. Coming down the other side, and see if I can get around the other side, and we'll video that part. The roof's in good shape. Looks like the drip moldings aren't rusty. Bottom of the door and into the rockers are all in good condition. So just a good, solid California car. And there's the tire that's flat coming down here. Once again, I'm gonna have to blow. Looks like there's some leaves starting to catch in there, but I'll have to blow all that out so it doesn't start rusting. And like I said, it's just a good, solid car to work on. My plans for this is to get it running, driving, clean it up, use it for cruising around Pasadena, and maybe if we get it we'll get it reliable enough to take it on a Lemons rally. It'd be kind of perfect for it, since it's a 170 Slant 6, get decent mileage. Won't be the fastest thing on the planet, but you know, it's just a cool, funky 60s car. So I'm not planning to put a big motor. I know a lot of guys take these, you know, they drop a like a 318 or 360 in it. I'm planning to keep it stock and reliable. It's a nice, good, basic car with no options. Kind of something you don't see anymore in cars, is cars with no options, really. And here's one from the 1960s. All right, so I got the hood open. As you can see, it's just a 170 Slant 6, very dusty. It's got like cobwebs growing on it, but a very, very simple machine. You know, no air conditioning, no power steering, no power brakes, just a motor. So everything's there and accessible and easy to get to. So this really should be a fun project. So we're gonna see where this goes. Right now I'm gonna pull the spare out of the trunk and see if it holds air, and then see if I can get this guy towed out of here and back to the house. So there's the old tire, and there's the bias ply spare that's going on there just to get this thing home. Also, the carburetor, when I took the air cleaner off, it looks like it was like recently rebuilt. Like, it looks super clean. So, and like all the lines and everything, nothing looks cracked or anything. So I'm going to see what happens when I bump the key on this thing, and we're going to see if this bad boy will fire, because I haven't tried it yet. And but the guy did say it ran 2 years ago. He tried to start it 2 years ago, and it fired right up. So we'll see. And here we go. Okay, so we're back the next day. The car wouldn't start. I actually put a battery that I know is good in it. I went and bought a new starter relay, which goes right there on the firewall. I'm going to try that because literally when you turn the key, it doesn't click. It doesn't do anything. I can see the amperage on the dash go down a little bit, the gauge. So I'm going to replace this, and we'll see if this thing cranks over. And if it does, I'll see if I can get this beast started. Okay, so I replaced the starter relay with the new one. I didn't show how to do it because if you can't figure it out, you probably shouldn't be working on cars. But if you look at the old one, you can actually see where the battery post goes, where the positive goes in. You can see it looks like the Bakelite's really charged. So I'm guessing this thing was probably an original part, and just 55 years later, it's gone. So now I'm going to actually see if that was what was wrong with the car, and we'll see if it starts. So, okay, I got the camera position. I'm going to go run in the car. I'm going to turn the key and see if it cranks over. Once it cranks over, I'll know if we might be able to get this thing to start. Let's see if the starter relay actually fixed the problem. Okay, so now we have an engine that turns over. Now we're going to see if we can actually get this thing to start. That would be fantastic. Okay, so with some ether, it actually fired up for a second, so we know this thing's going to run. It's just pretty much getting the gas from the tank up to the top, so we have ignition. So we'll see how this goes. See how long it takes to get this bad boy running. Alright, so I cranked it a few times. As you can see, you can now see there's some fuel starting to come up in the filter. I don't know if it's visible on camera. So that means our fuel pump is actually working. And I'm going to see if I can get it to pump to the carburetor. And if I can get it to pump to the carburetor, we'll see if it will run and what it's going to need. Alright, so I don't know if you can hear me, but the car is running. I actually pumped it a few more times, got the gas up into the bowl, and it fired up, and now it's actually idling. So I'm going to have to clean it up, play around with it. I'm going to have to find a radiator because the radiator is shot, or pull this one out and get it re-cored. And I should be able to get this thing back on the road fairly soon, because this is very, very, very promising. All right. Alright, so the engine's running. The only gauge I can see that's actually working is the amperage gauge. The temp gauge, I can't tell if it's coming up or not. Of course, the car is still cold. I'm not going to take it out for a drive because the radiator looks a little crusty. And of course, the fuel gauge is not working. So that might actually just be a center unit. And I looked online. I think the center units are actually available new for these. So I'm going to have to drop the tank on this guy. I'm going to have to do a radiator and tires, and probably a few other little things before I can actually take this thing out on the road. But I'm going to give it a little bit of a scrub and show you what it looks like. All right, so the car's looking really good now. Gave it a good scrub. Now the car's running. It's not drivable yet. It's going to need some new tires. It's going to need a battery. It's going to need probably the fuel tank. I might have to flush it out. The gas smells kind of funky. And it's also going to need a radiator. The brakes are up. Of course, I'm going to have to check them to make sure they're okay since it's a single pot master cylinder. But the car came out pretty good. It does have a little bit of a damage there that was repaired at one time in a bad way. But overall, the car's pretty presentable. Good California car, as you'd expect. So we're going to see where this project's going. I really like this car. It's just a nice, good, honest old lady car. So, and that's about it. So if you like what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And let me know what you think of the Valiant.